I'm sitting down with artist Laurissa Hughes. We are going to talk about the anthology we're working on together and also just what it means to be an artist in 2025, which is an interesting time to be alive for a lot of reasons. Um, so get into it with the first question so you can kind of introduce yourself and what you do. It is like, what is your artistic journey? Like, what brought you to comics? How did you get here, Larissa?
Well, I walked a really long. No, I'm kidding. I'm Laurissa. I'm doing it's the art for the pillar,
Yes.
for the anthology, and I really like the story. I'm very excited for like people to see it and to share it, and excited to see the other art too. I haven't seen a lot of it, so I'm really excited. Um, but I don't know. I've always liked comics ever since I was a little kid. Like I remember when I was little, we'd like my parents and I would go on road trips, and they're like I don't see it anymore, but I swear in like gas stations there'd be like comics you could buy.
hmm Yeah, there used to be like
Yeah,
a stand by
yeah,
the checkout area. It'd be like a big like turnaround thing.
yeah. And yeah, so my parents would like buy me comics, and then like I don't know, I had a bunch, and I've always liked drawing, uh, and then I really got like into manga. And I'm still into it. I'm a weeb, but that's cool,
It
whatever.
is still cool. I have a teenager at home, and her favorite thing is new anime and new manga and stuff like that. And I called her a weeb the other day, and she was very proud of it. So
Heck yeah.
it's
Own it.
still going strong.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Oh, I'm sorry. Heck yeah, I'm trying. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, but yeah, I don't know, I would just draw comics, even if they made no sense, because I didn't know what I was doing. I would just experiment. And then, my main passion is animation. I went to school for animation. Um, and I really like storyboarding, which comics and storyboarding kind of
hmm
mesh really well, even though it is, in my head, it's a very different thought process. Like,
Yeah.
it can be hard for me to switch back and forth, but uh, I don't, I've just always liked sequential art, and so I feel like, kind of making comics, I can practice storyboarding, and doing storyboarding, like practicing comics, because you're always practicing composition and all that, staging and everything. But yeah, so I've just always enjoyed it. I've had a
Uh,
web comic for an amount of time. I think it's over 10 years now, which is crazy.
what is your webcomic about?
It's called Tess and Jack, and it's my elevator pitch is it's about a cowgirl and a robot who live in like a futuristic old west, and
Yes.
they take odd jobs. So there's a few issues out. I want to do more. I don't need to. Well, I need to, but I also want to. You know what I mean?
hmm
Um, but they're all like standalone.
hmm
You don't have to like read every single one to understand what's going on. You can just pick one up and read it. But yeah, so I just like to make stories.
So I would kind of maybe call that a procedural, but I don't know if I'm using that word correctly. And that's actually like something I really love about like comfort shows is when you can just be like, okay, I'm gonna jump in and see what the adventure is. And um, I think I haven't really dug into your webcomic, but just that premise is like really intriguing to me. I'm like, what are they gonna get up to? Like, oh, there's a robot. Like, let's see. Like, um,
Thanks. I love robots. So,
oh yeah. Um, who doesn't love a good robot?
right?
Um, so here's a question. Do you remember what the first comic is you ever drew, like as a kid?
um, sure, I drew stuff before this. The one I remember, the very first one was this weird, like, time skip AU thing with, it was very anime and weird, and the order made no sense, and I don't know, I made like 2 pages, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna do. And I made 2 pages and never did anything. I also used to make Pokemon comics pretty heavily when I was like 10 and 11. That was pretty cool.
I mean,
Uh,
I fully believe they were the coolest.
oh,
I don't even
thanks.
have to see them.
Thanks. I mean, Pokemon is pretty rad. I just, I haven't, I don't know like anything past the first like 151. I know some
Yeah.
because of Pokemon Go, and then I played Arceus, which was very fun. But I'm not knocking Pokemon is my point. I'm knocking like if you looked at these comics, you'd be like, but because I was 10.
Yeah.
So,
So when you said that you're like, oh, I started making comics when I was younger, I had like this memory come back to me that I wanted to share with you. So I lived on a farm, and
oh wow.
there were three houses on the farm. My family lived in one, my grandmother lived in another one, and then my aunt lived in one. So it was like this big kind of property. But my grandmom basically just took in every stray cat that came around because people would constantly dump their cats on this land because it was kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So we ended up with like 40 cats,
Oh my
and
god.
only some of them were indoor, but most of them lived in our barn, like with our horse or whatever. And I remember doing a comic about all of the cats as if they were people and all like their human relationships to one another.
That's
And
awesome.
I had to be really small, like maybe 7 or 8 when I did this, and I did it all on these like post-it notes and like put them together in this little book.
That's so
Um,
cool. I love that. That's
And
awesome.
I went around trying to get everybody in my family to try and read this thing, and they were just like not interested in my little like
Aww.
cat
I'm
fan
interested.
fiction.
I think that's great. I love that. That's awesome.
It's just a little core memory flashback. Um,
That's I love it. That's really fun.
so how long have you been working either in comics or just as a professional artist?
I want to say since college. I didn't do a lot of like commissions and stuff before that. I mean, I was again young and would take commissions,
Hmm.
and I never got paid. Don't like, but people would be like, "Would you draw this for me?" And I'll pay you.
Hmm.
And I was like, "Yeah," and I never draw it. Um, what is? I saw this thing that was like an artist's personal hell is all the commissions they never finished. They have to
Oh,
finish all the
that's a
commissions.
little too real.
I
I
know.
don't
I
want to
was
talk
like,
about that,
"Woof,
man.
woof, woof." Um, but yeah, I mean, I get yeah. I would think I really started doing like professional work like right after college. So that was 17 years or something like that.
That, I mean, it sounds realistic to me.
Something yeah. It's over. It's more than 15, and
Hmm.
that's when I stopped counting because it was too depressing. Like, I mean, it was
Decades.
depressing when I hit 10, but then I'm still learning. I love
Hmm.
learning. You know, like I I'm always willing to give advice, like if people want advice and stuff,
Hmm.
but I wouldn't. I don't know. I hate calling myself like an expert or like
Hmm.
a whatever. I don't know why. I'm very like don't perceive me, but also
Yeah.
just
Relatable,
um
relatable for
yeah.
sure.
But I just like I think that's part of the one of the wonderful things about art is and writing and everything is just like constantly learning.
Hmm.
I I love that.
Yeah.
So
And I can say from like this side of the anthology, like I have seen everybody's art, and just working around everyone uh, has helped me learn a whole lot. Like it's almost impossible not to learn if you're working in this kind of creative space because things keep changing, and you never know what kind of new approach you're going to be exposed to. So
yeah.
it's super fun, if not, well paying.
Eh, I'm just excited. I was like, yeah, let's tell the story. Like, hell
Mhm.
yeah, let's go. Like, and also, I had a really good time working with Akira. Um,
Mhm.
they were very pleasant to work with and very, like, open to just suggestions. I don't even know, not suggestions, but they, like, literally, they had, like, an elevator pitch and a very brief description of the character, and I was like,
Mhm.
do you have any other, what else is he? And they're like, nah, just roll with it, go. And I was like, hell yeah. It
Yeah.
was really cool. And I liked their writing. Like, their script was very, like, I could see it. I read it and I
Yeah.
immediately was just like, I can see every page, like, in my head
Yeah.
right now. Like, thumbnailing it and sketching it took, like, no time because their writing was so, like, vivid and, like, well, even though there's very little dialogue in it,
Mhm.
the script was even the script was pretty sparse, but I could still just see it. It was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and they came in like with at the submission level with something that was pretty fleshed out, which definitely wasn't the case for everyone. And I had that same reaction where it's like I can see how this fits in the anthology. I can see what
Mm.
they're going for, and just some of the things they kind of signaled to in their submission, like they talked about, Miyazaki and kind of what they wanted to do with that, and doing something that's sci-fi. It doesn't all have to be spaceships. Like it can be
Oh
kind of
yeah.
that like almost alternate reality of things. So I thought that brought variety to what we were going to be looking at. But I am glad to hear that from a collaborative point of view that they were good to
Yeah,
work
they
with.
were.
Like I haven't had anything negative to say about anybody that's been a part of this. Like it seems like
That's
the
awesome.
pairings are getting along well. Um, and there are quite a few different writing styles with some of our scripts,
That's
but
so
a
cool.
lot of them they're very artist friendly. And I've been working with a lot of writers recently. Like normally I am dealing with my own scripts in my own head. I don't have like another person. Like they're all my own
Same.
stories.
Yeah.
Um, and most writers are just like super stoked. They're like, "Oh yeah, great. Whatever you do with it is great," and that's really nice. I have worked with other writers that are not that way, that are like hyper specific, and it's almost like that is not the norm in my experience. Where somebody's like, I imagine that might be a little bit more what it's like to work on like Superman or something, because like Superman has to look like Superman no matter what, and this is what Metropolis looks like, and that's it. Like you can't come in and be like, oh, all the buildings in Metropolis are orbs now or whatever. Like
Right.
they would get really really aggravated. But I've seen your work on the Kickstarter. We featured one page.
Yeah.
Uh, some
Which was cool.
feedback I've gotten is like, put more art, and I'm like, I don't want to give away all the stories, and why are you
Yeah.
gonna?
Because I saw you said that. You were like, these are shorts, guys. Like, I can't just be like, and here's all the art. Because,
Yeah, like
yeah, so.
I'm blurring out text, and I'm like I'm picking, like there are some pages that are like I would say a better showcase of the artwork, but they give away the whole plot. So I'm like, well, I can't choose that one. So I'm kind of doing the best I can there, and I hope it's enough to inspire interest. But I have seen the full pages from the pillar, and I couldn't be happier. I think my favorite panel is the one with the little cow on it, like where
Is
she
that
the
so
main character.
cute?
I love
I,
that cow.
I, I had a lot of fun drawing that, and also, like, animals are not my forte. Like, again, learning.
Mhm.
And I need to draw more animals, and so when there were animals, I was like, uh-oh. So then I drew it, and I was like, oh, that came out kind of good just on try one, and, like, the little calf was like, bam, there. And I was like, yes! Like, so, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
glad. I don't know what my favorite panel is. I think my favorite panel might be the one where she's in the cart, and
Mhm.
they're, like,
Yeah,
leaving,
that's a good moment
because,
in the
yeah, I
story.
like how peaceful,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I was nervous about that script because there are elements that are kind of like I don't want to say surreal, but just like I wasn't sure. Like I can see it in my head, but I'm like, how would I even draw that? How would I draw that concept? And I was like, this is going to be challenging. Um, but once I saw the finished work, I was like, it's all there. Like it's so clear.
Yeah.
I had no questions from panel to panel, which can sometimes happen in comic work where you're like, wait, why are we over here? Where's that arm going? Like, what are we doing? Um, but it
So
just
hard with tangents too. Anyway, but thank you.
yeah. Um, yeah, I was over the moon when I got most of the finished work from everybody coming in on this. Like I have very little feedback for anybody, and like that's what's motivating me to be like, we have to get this funded. I'm like, everybody is at such a high level, like they deserve more than what I originally was even offering. Like I would much prefer to have a page rate be like 125 than, where we set it at. And that would just be for pencils, if I'm honest. But, I am just a goon in a
Yeah,
closet.
I get it. And
So
I really appreciate that. But I think, like, for me, too, a big part of working on like, agreeing to work on it is just the message.
mhm.
When you're like, I just want positive, like, I just want to
Yeah.
spread some positivity. Anyway, yeah, I'm in, let's go.
Yeah, that like actually brings me to the second question I have written
Oh.
down. um, but was like, what brought you to want to be a part of Prism, other than the facts that I like just directly asked you? Because I asked you, I asked Rio Burton, another one of our
I
Colorado
know,
artist
yep.
people.
I know
Um,
Rio, yeah.
I asked Olivia Williams.
Hmm.
That list is all people that are local to Colorado, that I've met at conventions. And if everybody had said yes, it was like we would have had the anthology on lock and I wouldn't have to have done
Yeah,
submissions. So I do think it's almost a happy accident that Rio and Olivia were not available because that opened it up to so much more. But
yeah.
I did kind of want to disclose that I'm like, I invited you directly to be a
No,
part of this.
and I
Um,
appreciate that. I felt really honored, honestly.
well, that's
Cause
nice.
I was like, oh, wow, thank you. Like, I'm glad you like my work, you know, enough to just.
Well,
And
I've
I
been
know we've
carrying around.
talked about it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
I've been carrying around my little notebook of like people I want to work with on ideas I've had. And I was just like keeping that in my pocket. So as soon as I was like, well, I think I'm just going to pull the trigger and do this, you were like at the top of the list. Like you
Oh, thank you.
and Yadriel were like right there. I am almost happy they were too busy, because that means they're doing their thing. They got other stuff going on. So go for them on that. But
Yeah. Well, and also, like you said, you get such a diverse
yeah.
crowd. Like, it's really cool. So, and maybe on another project, they'll be like, I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
them, but I'm
mean,
just saying, maybe. Like,
yeah,
you know?
I mean, I'm hoping I can continue to do the anthology thing and keep putting stuff like this out. I don't think it will have as big of a message as, say, the Prism anthology does, because that's more about the moment we are in history. And
Yeah.
the other thing I wanted to do is basically like illustrating campfire stories, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
a
I
different
like
thing.
that. Yeah.
But so what did bring you to this project? Like, what was appealing to you?
Like I said, the message. I
Hmm.
mean, I've also wanted to work with you. Like,
Hmm.
that's a big part of it. I know too. Like, um, because like when you would talk at cons about stuff, I was like, oh, this is exciting. Yeah, let's do it. Like, hell yeah, hell yeah. Um, so there's that, but also just yeah, I just when you're like, the world is on fire. Let's make something positive. I'm like, yes, except please. I love.
Yeah,
I want to put like funny, positive stuff out.
yeah,
Like I guess that's because Tess and Jack is very like lighthearted, and
yeah,
it's not. And I don't know. I'm just sick of like this grim, dark trend we're in, and then also like
yeah,
I said, the world is on fire, and it's just like, oh my god. So I that was a big part of it was the message. I was like, yes, I want to be part of something positive for sure.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. Uh, for me, I feel like the positive stuff is like more important right now. because like all the dark stuff that can make you angry, it can make you want change, but the positive part of the coin is what kind of keeps you going, because if you're just like everything sucks, like eventually you'll just be like, well, I'm going to take a nap about it
Yeah,
and be
right.
done, you know. So if you're like, well, here's these positive ideas, and one thing I noticed in the submissions is like there are a lot of common themes. It's not like I got a bunch of submissions where like, and everybody has a gun in a mansion. Like they're very much like, I want better environmental stuff going on. You know, they were all these descriptions of like very green landscapes, you know, and everybody was like, and there's no money, you know, like there's all these universal things that keep coming up. So it's like, well, if we all kind of agree on these core ideas, that should, why aren't we working on that? Like, why are we doing everything but that then? If we all want
Right.
like huge trees and no money, like
Right.
perhaps we should be steering in that direction. But,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I agree, but also just like, ugh. Really quick, and I'm not promoting this. I just really like this book, or there's two books, but it reminds me of what you just said because there's literally it's all green, and there's no money, and
Yay!
there's robots in it, so it's like an extra plus. So the first book is called A Psalm for the Wild Built, and the
That's a
second
nice
is
title.
right. And the second is A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers. They're by Becky Chambers. They're very short.
Hmm.
Um, but they're so good. They're like very like peaceful and but there's like a lot of I had about 10 existential crises like reading them, but they have a kind of vibe that I think rings with this like anthology where it's that
Hmm.
a world where everyone is accepted and it's like green and I don't know. Just
Hmm.
highly recommend those books. Like they have kind of a vibe, a similar
Hmm.
vibe. And they're just really they're short, they're really good. They made me cry. Like not that everything doesn't make me cry right now, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. In some of the submissions, and this is something I started using when describing the anthology, was solar punk, and it's
Yeah.
almost the antithesis of cyberpunk, because
Yeah.
most of the time when you're dealing with futuristic stories, it's usually some kind of like dystopian nightmare. And I love cyberpunk mainly because I like the
Same.
aesthetic. That's how I dress in my regular life, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
waiting to be in some kind of
I mean
post-apocalypse or whatever.
I mean
Um,
same and I would like to dress more like that. I just don't have any money. But I also love it for the aesthetic. I'm the same way. So,
yeah, but like the idea of like a solar punk where it's like the same thing, but then maybe instead of white or instead of black, everybody's wearing like white leather.
hell yeah. I
But
love it.
yeah, like that kind of genre, like what you're describing, I think kind of fits in that like solar
Oh
punk
yeah.
realm.
I
So,
also like solar punk. So I also just like the term solar punk. I don't know why. I
mhm.
just enjoy it and but yeah, like yeah, agreed.
So what what's your favorite thing about working with comics? I know you said your preferred medium is more like animation, but like what do you love about this industry?
Just making stories.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with animation. It's
Yeah.
just I just want to tell stories. I love telling stories. I have since I mean, I was like I wrote like short books when I was a kid. I did all kinds of story creative
Hmm.
like my whole
Yeah.
life, and I just love telling stories and sharing stories and having people share stories with me. It just makes me happy.
Yeah.
So
That's definitely something that has drawn me to comics over the years, is the storytelling aspect. I feel like I've always had a lot of stories to tell, to the point where I changed like my titles when I am online. Like it'll usually be like artist, whatever, and it says storyteller in there too, because I do kind of vacillate between what medium I'm working in, like whether it's like a full book or like more of a prose project. But my primary purpose was always like telling the story. So I definitely relate to that idea.
Yeah,
Um,
that's cool. That's why I always put, because I don't know, big headed. I don't know, not really. I just think it sounds cool. I am a spinner of tales on my business card because I just think it
yeah,
sounds
yeah,
neat.
yeah.
Because that's what I
That's
like
like
doing. Cause
wizard, like
yeah, I know.
spinner of
That's why
tales.
I was like, oh, it sounds sick. Let's do it. So,
Yeah, like I think me going with storyteller, I think of that old like Jim Henson like storyteller
yes,
thing, and like I probably relate a little bit to like Hoggle. That where you're like,
yes.
I'm super cool wizard, and I'm like, I'm a weird gnome, and
I am a fan. I'm not even a cool wizard though. I'd be like, I'm a spinner of tales, and I'd be like some little fucking like, yeah.
so we know your favorite thing about working in comics. What would you change about comics to if you were like, I want to make this space better, more inclusive, easier? Like, what would you change about the industry?
Well, I would want to make it more inclusive. I feel like smaller indie stuff and smaller publishers, it's a lot more inclusive. I guess if we were just talk about like the umbrella of comics,
Hmm.
including like Marvel and DC, I would want to try and make it more inclusive because I think it's still a pretty male dominated field,
Hmm.
which is
Yeah,
frustrating. But then even in like all of it, I feel like pay should go up, but I feel like that should go up in so many different
yeah.
places.
Universal pay
Um,
raise.
yes, exactly. And also sometimes, and I don't know, I don't think it's such a huge issue in comics, but I know in animation at least, like the working hours
Yeah.
and like crunch, but I don't think comics have a crunch really. I've
I
never
think
really heard of a crunch with comics, but if there is, they need to stop.
I think when you do work with the bigger name stuff, like they have much tighter deadlines.
Yeah,
But for the most part, I think illustrators that are working in comics are mostly considered freelance or gig workers, and
yeah,
like they literally can't dictate when you're working or where you're working in that space.
that's true. That's fair.
So I think that might be why it's a little bit different than
Yeah,
animation. But I also know a lot of people in a lot of industries are considered independent contractors now.
yeah.
But
Which
I
kind
think,
of sucks because you
yeah,
don't get any of the benefits.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
so on the back end of Prism, I am kind of founding this cooperative of sorts, and it's kind of to combat that problem because, we met at conventions, um, and conventions are one of the biggest ways to not feel like you're working in a void, so I really like them. But I would talk to
Yeah.
other creatives and they talk about like, oh, me and my spouse split up and we're going through this brutal uh brutal divide, and now I have to get like extra jobs or do whatever. Like they'd be hitting these walls that normally there would be like some kind of safety net for, that they
Mhm.
just didn't have. Or I'd be talking to somebody and they're like, yeah, I'm not doing conventions anymore. I'm going to go be an ultrasound tech instead of an artist. And so I was
Yeah.
like, well, if I can kind of build something on the back end that can help support people, and like be a network to catch people when they're going through those problems. Because, I don't, if we're talking about the indie space, I am putting forth this uh, indie anthology. I can only offer so much. I can't offer
Right. Yeah.
health
And like
insurance.
I wish everyone could. That's
Yeah, and that's the
exactly
thing.
what
Like
you're saying. Yeah.
like
So.
you clocked like, okay, this would be helpful, and I'm like, well, I'm trying to build it by building a
Yeah.
cooperative where members could buy in, and then it's like, oh, I have a health emergency. Okay, well, we can support you through that. So it's like, I
That's
personally
cool.
might not ever be able to offer you that as an employer, but if we build a network where that's not necessarily the only way to get to something, I was like, that's another solution to kind of work around. Like,
Yeah.
we're all in this. together kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah, I
Um,
we'll see how it all shakes out, but that's
fair,
kind of
fair.
the
Yeah.
end goal.
Um, no, I think that's really cool. 'Cause it's hard, and I have a day job too. I mean,
Hmm.
uh, I just work on art at night and on the weekends,
Hmm.
um, which is fine. I mean, I
Yeah,
would love it to be my full time job, but it's like it's so hard, especially in Colorado.
yeah,
Everything is so expensive,
yeah, for sure.
and honestly, I don't know. This is a kind of a tangent. I had kind of a toxic relationship for art for a while, with
Hmm.
art for a while, um, to the point where like I almost like burned all my sketchbooks and quit drawing altogether. I just was like, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah,
And in a way, right now, where I'm at, having the day job kind of makes the art part less toxic because it's not
yeah, yeah.
something that like I'm in the void doing and like doing it all the time and blah 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 and
Hmm.
burning myself out. It's like I get off work and I go, I'm gonna draw. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? So that's where like I feel like the having that day job can almost kind of make it less toxic. For me, it made it less
Yeah.
toxic. I know
And
not for everybody else, but like
yeah,
it is hard to get by just doing
yeah,
art. It's so hard.
yeah. And I have heard that like a lot of people are thankful for their day jobs because it makes it so they don't have to take every project that comes
Yeah.
along their desk. Like they can make it about the love of the game, not I have to put food on the table. But like we said before, even with our day jobs, sometimes it's not enough.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
and I mean, the hottest markets for comics are in California, we're in New York, and those are other
Yep.
hella expensive places.
Same with
So
animation.
yeah,
Animation is exactly the same.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
They're not twins, but they're definitely in the same family.
Yeah, they are. That's true. That's true. Sequential art.
Yes.
But yeah, for sure. So
Um, what are some of your goals in your artistic career though? Like, what do you hope to accomplish
that's a I don't know.
there?
Share art with people. I just like doing that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's okay. No pressure. Like,
No, I
the
know. I'm
honest
just like
answer is the best answer.
I mean, I would love. I did work on a show for Netflix a few years ago. Not to be like, just it's the thing. I had an experience working on a show as a storyboard artist, and so I had a taste of it. And I'm just like, I want that so bad again. I would love to
Yeah.
work
What show did
like.
you work
It's called Mech Cadets. It's based on the comic Mech Cadet U.
on? Hmm.
Um, and I had a blast working on it. I was just like, oh, I get to draw stories all day, and and I know it's like someone else's story, but it's still like, oh, I get to like get in there with my grabby hands and be
Yeah.
like play, and I don't know. It was so ideally, I would love to do that again. But like full time or at least in some capacity where like more than I am now.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Um, but I mean, I also just like making comics and I want to share stories and comics and art with people. Like I love, like you were saying at conventions.
Hmm.
I love conventions because like exactly like what you said. It's you're like, oh, I'm not in a void. I'm not. You go and you're like, these are my people. Like,
Yeah.
and not just the artists at the tables, like the people who are there to see the artists and stuff. Like, they're all, it's such a cool atmosphere to just be there and be like, oh, like, I love.
Have you ever had somebody come up to the table and say they're gonna cosplay any of your designs?
I had a friend who, like, I don't know, I can never tell. He jokingly said he'd cosplay as Tess.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I would, like, blush, and he thought it was funny because he was, like, a dude dressing as
Hmm.
Tess, and I was like, I'm blushing because you're saying you want to cosplay my character. I don't give a shit if you're like,
I mean, it's
Just
a
the fact
highly.
that even if you're joking, I'm like, so.
I think it's Tess is a highly cosplayable character too, because if I'm
Thanks.
remembering uh correctly, like she's got pink hair, right?
Yeah,
Am I
she
remembering
has
that?
like
And then
pink
she's got like
pigtails and
little kind of like
yeah,
jean shorts, and I think you can see the
she's like the
pockets.
pants. No, well, there's like rips in their pants,
Uh, because I was just like,
but
oh, I can see how you would build that costume, and it's a
yeah,
very highly cosplayable kind of fun character
wonderful.
design. So
I've
hopefully
honestly
you'll have that.
debated cosplaying her, just
Do
being
it.
like, yeah, maybe.
I built an ice cream witch cosplay based on one of my illustrations. Uh,
Have
I
I seen it? Have you worn it?
I
I don't
think I
know.
posted about it, but the hat became
Okay.
so heavy it was actually not sustainable.
That I would totally do that. I would totally like cosplay as like one of my characters in real my booth like that. Like that would be fun. I love cosplay
Hmm.
like so much. I always had the bug. I always wanted to do it, and then I know what year it was because I was so excited. I cosplayed. It was 2012, and my friend and I went as Haruko from Fooly Cooly, and he was Conti,
Hmm.
and I had so much fun. And I was like, I'm gonna do this once. I'm just gonna get it out of my system. And now I've got 8 cosplays or something, and I'm gonna
Hmm.
make another one this summer, maybe. And then I have another costume that's new as of last year that I've been adding to that I'll probably wear again to NDK. So yeah, but I get it. It's so much work, and I get like really into it, and then it gets
Hmm.
kind of awkward because I'm like, it has to be perfect. And people are like,
Yeah,
no one is gonna notice it, and I'm like, it has to be
yeah,
perfect, or I'm gonna lose my mind. Like,
yeah. That's an ongoing thing in my life. I don't know if you put it much stock in astrology, but I'm a Virgo rising, and it like ruins my life a little bit. Where I'm just like perfection.
yeah.
Like you sometimes you don't have to fully render a background on a panel that's going to be 2 inches tall. Maybe you should calm down.
But I do the same thing. Also fair because I know Virgos and I know they're like and it's like because like I am Pisces Sun Gemini rising, so I'm two
Mm,
twin signs that are very mutable, and I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, that tracks. Like I have the perfectionist side, but I also have the I'm gonna float away into the distance and never come
yeah,
back side. Like, um, but yeah, I mean, I struggle with perfectionism a lot, like so much. Like, oh my god. And also, same. I mean, the panels in the pillar, like, there's definitely ones where I was like, you didn't have to go that hard. And I was like,
well,
yeah,
I
but
think
I did
everything you
it.
went hard on
So,
definitely paid off. I
well,
really love
thank
those
you.
panels.
No, thank you.
So,
It's just, I get where you're coming from.
so you said you want to work more in that like storyboarding animation realm. So, what is your like dream job? Like, if you were like, I will sell all my things and get a bus ticket if I could do this job. Like, what's that look like to you?
Just storyboarding.
Just any storyboarding you're willing to like sell it all,
No,
or is there
I guess.
like a particular property where you're like, I'd love to work on this, or a studio you'd love to work for?
I mean, fucking Pixar. Well, Pixar not as much anymore. Back when in their heyday, man, I
Hmm.
was in college in their heyday, and it was just like fucking salivating. Like, excuse me, sorry, I've been trying really hard not to swear. I have the mouth of a sailor.
I don't think it's like a hard adult book, but I don't know that
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
many like young kids are going to be into
That's
it,
fair.
so I think
That's
it's
fair.
okay.
Okay. But yeah, like like a Pixar movie would come out, we were like salivating. We were just like, oh, and I mean, because their storytelling it was so good, and I know
Hmm.
some of the newer movies are also really good too. But just like come out like The Incredibles, like
Hmm.
Finding Nemo is still one of my favorite movies of all
Yeah.
time. I cry. Oh, fucking Monsters Incorporated. I cry
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah, there's
Um,
uh on Disney Plus there's this show called Win or Lose, and it's a 3D animated show, and it's about a softball team, middle school softball
okay.
team, and it tells a pretty compelling story. And, I don't know if the streaming bubble is kind of like bursting right now because I know a lot of people are like, well, I'm spending as much as cable if I'm
Yeah.
buying all this stuff. But I do think streaming has opened up more opportunities for artists to do things because, there's just more content to be made. So
Yeah.
maybe you could find yourself storyboarding for some kind of Disney property that's not, you know, Disney-ish.
Yeah, well, even if it was, like, that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
the other thing, too, I mean, the thing I worked on, Mech Cadets, was through Netflix, but it was like it was like a Canadian production
Hmm.
studio, and we worked with a Japanese animation studio, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
very
I
common,
kind of
I think.
worked on an anime.
Well, it's
uh,
super common in animation these days to outsource like the actual animating part of things.
yeah,
Like they will send off like the major storyboard moments and then they'll turn it into whatever.
yeah,
The
no, that's
ethics of
true.
that I'm not going to weigh in on because I don't know much
Yeah,
about the industry, but um
well, and I was gonna be like, I'd love to go to Japan and
yeah.
storyboard, but you talk about getting paid absolutely nothing for crunch time 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Like, and but I don't know. I think a lot of studios in other countries are doing a lot more interesting stuff than kind of a lot that's going on here. I mean, there's again sort of indie stuff here that I think is really interesting, but I do think like there's other places that are pushing boundaries maybe a little bit more,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
being like, except it's happening all over. It's like, oh, if it's not gonna make buku bucks, we're not gonna make it. You don't
Yeah.
get a lot of the fun, kind of funky experimental stuff like any. I mean, you do a little bit, but it used to be a lot
Yeah.
more common. But that was like again everywhere, including here.
So speaking of funky stuff, I saw that you worked on When Baked Things Attack.
Yeah,
So like the same thing that we're kind of trying to do with Prism and then the co-op on the back end is like making more space for just doing stuff that's not about being commercially successful per se, like
yeah,
doing cool stuff. And not to say that baked things wouldn't be commercially uh successful. It's a very unique thing. It's something like as a movie with like there's puppetry in it. Like just to I don't know everything about this project. I've only seen the con table, but they had like a cake that like was animatronic and it was like a monster. But it was all puppetry. It
yeah.
was very
So
clearly puppetry. It wasn't like this
practical
is
effects.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very like kind of that B movie. Like, I love stuff like that though.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
love like um I think they're doing cool stuff. I know they were talking about making a movie. I think they are making it.
yeah, I think it's just the nature of that business. It's like it takes a little bit longer because you
Oh
need way
yeah.
more like funding up front too. It's not just like let's draw some things and put stuff together. It's like you need like $100,000 even for
Yeah.
like the most basic of basic things. And I spent some time with film majors when I was in college and stuff. And one of my really good friends in art school wanted to be like a practical effect person in horror movie. And like his final project was like a full replica of his head and also another part of his body, which if we're trying to be PG, and they were getting like cut off in this like movie he made. So I'd go hang out
That's
in his dorm
so
and he'd just have
cool.
these like weird things hanging out. He also built a half
Uh,
pipe in his sculpture studio space. Like everybody in sculpture
that's
major at my school had their own
awesome.
studio and he built a half pipe in there and I'm like, "I don't think you're allowed to do this." And he's like, "Nope."
He's like, yeah, but I don't. It's here now.
Yeah, it's like, "But I
Oops.
did indeed do it."
What are they gonna do? They can't take it out the door. Like they can't be like, put it in the trash. Like
uh, Way
that's
braver
funny.
than I
That's
ever
amazing.
was.
Oh yeah, there were a lot of people same at my college who were way braver than I am.
You went to Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design, correct? I remember.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
was your experience there good? Would you recommend it to other aspiring artists?
I genuinely don't know how to answer that question. um, because like yes and no.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I feel like with any kind of schooling, especially past public school, like upper education and other side whatever, it's kind of you get what you put into it, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. Like, um, so I worked, I loved it. I was animating, that was rad. But also like it wasn't. They didn't have a high employment rate, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know
Because
that if I mean some colleges will be like, "Oh, we're like Cal Arts brags a lot," but I think that's just because
well,
it's in proximity to like a lot of animation studios.
that's what
But
I was gonna say. Because CalArts, like they I think almost have like not. I don't think they're like feeding in immediately. I don't think they're
yeah.
like, oh, we're contracted, so you're gonna hire our students. But I
Yeah.
think they. I mean, like you said, because they're in such close proximity, they can be like, oh, our speaker today is like some person from Disney or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's like we're in Colorado, we're a college that's this big. It's bigger now. I mean, when I went
Yeah.
there, the student body was smaller than my high school graduating class. It was very small. And but the thing is, like, I made a lot of really good friends there. I networked. I still know a lot of people who are, working in like bigger areas of the industry or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Like, I really enjoyed my time there. And I know the thing too is with the department head when I was there, he was sort of what is it, jack of all trades, master of none. So we were
Yeah.
learning like compositing and stuff, and I was like, I don't care about this. Like, this isn't what I'm here. And
Yeah.
also, the program we learned doesn't even exist anymore. So it's just completely moot knowledge. Like anything
Yeah.
I learned in that class is that
Mm.
program literally doesn't even exist anymore. It was at a time when there were a lot of like conflicting. It was like, oh, do you
Yeah.
use After Effects or do you use whatever the hell that program was? And
Yeah.
they went with that program, and it turned out the races went to After Effects.
Yeah.
And then there was like 3D Max and Maya, and then Maya was like nom 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 nom. Like
Yeah. Yeah,
so.
all at my school, it was big 3DS Max school.
Yeah,
And
at least we were Maya. At least I got one thing right.
yeah,
um,
I went to UArts in Philly,
mm.
which recently, unexpectedly, just closed out of nowhere. So that's an
Oh, jeez.
interesting
Uh
college
oh.
lore.
Yeah.
But in the illustration program, they were dealing with a crisis of what was next because print media was essentially dying.
That was a
Um,
big thing with us
so
too.
they were
Yeah.
like, should you focus on animation? Should you do this instead? What's the approach? And they kind of taught us really dated information on how to get a job. Like I have
Yeah.
a portfolio I built there that just monetarily it was like $200 to produce
Just
and make.
Yep.
And they were like, you're going to need this. And I have literally only brought it out maybe 5 times, and that is at my own request. Like I'll show up to an interview and they'll
You're
just
like,
be
I
talking
spent
to me and
money
I'll be
on
like,
this.
I have this. Would you
Yeah.
like to look at it? And
Yeah. Because they kind of did that at RemCat too, because it was, again, like you were saying, it was a very transitional period.
yeah.
I mean, I think animation was very concretely in the 3D realm
Hmm.
by that point, so it's like they had a I went to the 2D program because I was like, I want to sit in front of a screen all day, and then look what I do. I just sit in front of a
Yeah.
screen all day. I do kind of wish I'd done more 3D just because it is where everything went.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of it. Yeah, it was such a weird time. like, um, yeah, they did that like at RimCAD. We had a lot of out of date employment information. A lot of the people who were teachers there like had been in the industry like 10 years prior, so they were like, we used to send in VHS tapes. I don't know what to tell you. And it was
Yeah.
like, cool. like,
That would be
um,
so funny. Like, because I think we graduated around the same time. I think we're of an age. I'm not on the specifics of that, but it would be
yeah.
incredibly funny if you had graduated and they were like, please submit these VHS tapes, because even then that
Yeah.
would have been like a terrible idea.
Right. And it was just like, and then, I mean, even then, though, I feel like
I
physical
think
port. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, like, I think now, if you submitted a VHS tape, it might do well for you because they'd be like, I can't even believe this person.
That's true. And
like
then
a
they'd be like, they wouldn't even be able to look at it though. They'd be like,
you have
I
to
don't
send
have the
that and the
VHS. The whole player
VCR.
with it.
Like, make it a little, like, scavenger hunt. Be like, you have to find. I have
Right?
hidden the VCR. You have to find
Right?
it and you can play
Right?
my tape.
They're like, they would though. They'd probably be like, "This is unique enough. All right, well let's do it." Like I don't know, but even like when I graduated, I feel like physical portfolios were still more of a thing than digital. Excuse me, it was moving towards digital, but I had a ton of physical portfolios that I sent out, and it was the same thing. They were so expensive, but they're like, send in a physical portfolio in a
Yeah.
bubble mailer, and I'm like, and now it's like, oh, it all fits in this convenient little thing. I stick it in my pocket and just pull it
Yeah.
out. Like, I literally, my friend got me this thing, and I can never remember what it's called. It's that chip that basically kind of a credit card chip where you just boop it and it like
Uh-huh.
reads it, and it's on a bottle cap. And she
I
said
didn't even
some
know that
kid
was a
made it.
thing. That's crazy.
Yeah, she said a kid made it when she like had this idea, and I was like, these are cool. Like, why isn't he a millionaire yet? But I can like load my website through an app onto this chip and just carry it around and be like, you want to see my website? And I boop it against someone's phone and it brings my website up. Like, I don't
That's
even need business
amazing.
cards. I'm just like boop boop. Like,
What is your favorite thing you ever worked on?
that's a hard question too because I've worked on a lot of stuff. I mean, like Mech Cadets was pretty rad because it was an actual property and my name is in the credits and I'm like, look, it's my name. Wow. Like, and also storyboarding. It was so much fun. I guess it kind of cemented, like, yes, this is what I want to do. But I think comics had already done that.
hmm
Um, I don't know. We'll just say that. Because there's too many. There's so many. So,
And then, what are you working on right now? What's on your desk right now? What's coming out for Laurissa?
well, hopefully more Tess and Jack. I started thumbnailing issue 4, and then a bunch of like deadlines hit, and I was like, oh, I don't have time. But yeah, so I'm working on Tess and Jack issue 4. I'm also can I talk about copyrighted shit on here?
Whatever you want
Okay. So I'm currently neck deep in Yakuza Brain Rot. Like those games have me by the throat and have for several years now. Like I love those games.
to. What game was it? I think I missed it.
Yakuza, the
Yeah. Okay.
Yakuza games, and then Yakuza slash like a dragon. Um, so I'm putting together a zine with some friends. We're doing art from the
That's
game.
fine.
So that should be at Fort Collins too, pretty sure. And then I've got another comic in the works with another group of people. I don't know, a bunch of stuff going on, I guess. So
All right.
yeah,
Well, let's wrap it up because I don't think this app likes how long we've been
that's fair.
talking.
Yeah,
So you can definitely check out Pillar in Prism
yeah,
by Akira and Laurissa Hughes.
so good.
Um,
Yeah, my website's just LarissaHughes.com.
so
Anyway,
you can
sorry.
search Laurissa Hughes.
Yes.
They have their website available right at the top, and you can check out their webcomic, Tess and Jack, along with other projects coming out. They worked on The Pillar with
Yep.
Akira for Prism. Hopefully, we'll be into a print run by July, and we will have it at Fort Collins Comic Con. I have a table there. It sounds like you have a table
Yep.
there. I'm
I do.
betting Yadriel will have a table there as well, and you can pick up physical
Awesome.
copies there if you
Yeah.
don't want to purchase it through the Kickstarter campaign, but we are hoping that you donate to it.
Yes. Also, I'm just excited for everybody to read it. It's gonna be real cool.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree. One
So,
of the coolest things I've ever done. So
heck
thank you
yeah.
so much for sitting down with me and experimenting with the software
Yeah,
and
you're
just
welcome.
doing this in
Also,
general.
this project was also really fun to work on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. All
All
right,
right.
cool.